Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our weekday video posts. The other day, I was reflecting on the huge divisions that we have in our country right now. And as you know, we're kind of orienting these video posts to the current climate in our society. And so I was reflecting on how divisive things are and how polarized so many people are. And thought, gee, is there a teaching from the Eightfold Path that can help with that could help heal that divide? And indeed, I believe there is. I don't think this is a panacea, for it, but I do think it would be helpful. And that is this understanding that things cannot be otherwise. That thing, whether it be the weather or whether it be someone's behavior or whether it be what arises in our hearts and minds at any given moment. That something is happening in itself is proof that it cannot be otherwise. So many things go into a moment of arising of something. There's just no way to control it and make it otherwise. And this is one of the things that the Buddha was pointing to when he said, I teach the middle path. That can mean a few things. It can mean the middle path, like in our energy and our practice between, not trying hard enough and trying too hard. And it can also mean that the middle path, at least at the time he was teaching it, lies between these two kind of most popular, you could say, spiritual paths at that time in that world, or kind of worldviews. And one was Eternalism, which is there is a solid self here that's very in charge of itself, like completely in charge, and will live on forever. Right, so this eternalism, with one of the main points of that being this solid self that's in control. And then the other kind of view that was out there at that time was fatalism, which means it's all just totally out of control. We're just along for the ride, and there's nothing that we can do to change anything, and just get over it and be okay with it. And so there were these two quite opposite views, and the Buddha said, no, I actually teach the middle way. There is no self here, like with the fatalism, yet there is agency. There's not total control and by a self, which the eternalism said, but there is agency. There's not a solid being here the way we think there might be. And there is some agency we can have on the trajectory of our lives. And of course, that's what we're doing when we're cultivating the Eightfold Path. We are cultivating the conditions that are supportive for the trajectory of our lives to move towards happiness and away from suffering. But in any given moment, can we actually just demand how things will be? No, we don't have that level of control, simply because there are so many factors that come into and give rise to a moment of anything. Again, a gust of wind, what arises in our mind, other people's behavior. So now just kind of turning this towards, well, what does this have to do, Chas, with the divisiveness in our country? Well, often what happens is when we think of someone else who has a different view on something, you could call it political or a really big kind of social, um, something that's up socially. It could be climate change, it could be views on abortion, whatever, right? You fill in the blank. Often when we think of someone who holds, or a group of people that hold a view that's opposite of ours, we kind of make them wrong or bad, like that they actually have total control, that they hold that view. When in truth, given that person's upbringing, given the karma they came into the world with, given how their parents told them they couldn't have that cereal that morning when they were 4, given all the moments of their life have led up to this moment, that they have this view on this particular social issue could not be otherwise. That doesn't mean we're supposed to get on board with their view, or it doesn't mean that maybe we don't oppose it. What it means, though, is that we don't have to make them wrong and bad for it. Seeing, just like ourselves, given the karma we came into the world with, given how we were brought up, given all the moments of our lives, up until this moment, our view of, say, whatever social thing we're talking about, our view of it, given all those circumstances, could not be different. It could not be otherwise. We would have to be living in a different universe with a different set of law, like kind of natural laws, in order for that to be so. But what if we really got on board with that view, with that wise view, it could not be otherwise. What would that do to the divisiveness, right? I believe it would really kind of quell it quite a bit. Again, it doesn't mean that we don't put our views forward and take action on things that we think are important. But maybe it's done with less wrong making and less divisiveness. Now, really the only way that we can see that it cannot be otherwise, really for ourselves. So you could hear me say it now, and it could maybe, let's say it resonates. Like, yeah, that sounds right to me. I believe that. I get that. So that's one, what we would call level of wisdom. Wisdom is talked about on 3 different levels. So this is a superficial one. When we hear it and when we resonate with it, it's like, okay, yeah, that sounds about right. That's actually considered one level of wisdom. But to really know this being, it cannot be otherwise for ourselves, then of course we have to drop down into experience and be mindful of experience, especially our own, as it unfolds, to see that this is actually so. And so let's go ahead and do some of the formal practice now and cultivate that mind state of mindfulness so that we can bring that tool to bear on this work and see for ourselves that it cannot be otherwise. So letting your eyes gently come to close and settling into, say, relaxing or softening into the position that you're going to do this meditation in. Letting the body soften, open, dropping the attention down and into the body. So there's a sense of feeling the body from the inside out, as opposed to kind of looking down on it from the head. So we embody the attention. And we consciously connect to the physical sensations that we feel, perhaps starting at the places the body is in contact with something, feeling the sensations there. And then opening the awareness just as the body softens and widens and opens. The awareness can soften and widen and open. We stay connected to the body somatically, but now we move from just where it's in contact with something to feeling and being aware of the whole body all at once. Where the awareness widens, it softens, it's receptive. We receive the sensations of the whole body all at once. Feeling the body as a field of sensations, perhaps rather than a discrete form. Letting the breath be experienced somatically within this field or as part of this field of tiny changing sensations. The breath body. Breathing in, breathing out, sensitive to the entire breath body. This is our meditation object, the sensations that we feel as we experience the entire breath body. Now, even though our intention is to stay aware and connected to this experience, at some point, the mind will wander away. We'll enter the mind-made world unconsciously, wander in that world, and then at some point, come back. All this happens outside of our control. And this right here is an excellent example of it could not be otherwise. That the mind wandered away in that moment could not be otherwise. That the mind came back and dropped back into present time awareness at the moment that it did could not be otherwise. We keep practicing every moment of feeling the breath body, a moment cultivating the conditions that are supportive for the mind to not wander. But at any given moment, if the conditions are supportive for it to, it will. It cannot be otherwise. Go ahead now and meditate with the breath body, with those sensations. And just notice that the mind will wander, it will come back. We connect with the sensations once it comes back, settle in with them, relax, and then it'll happen again. Each time the mind wanders and comes back, reflect on this truth. It cannot be otherwise. Nice to meditate together. Thank you. This understanding or reflection on it cannot be otherwise really can have quite a profound impact on our hearts and minds. I mentioned how this can help soften the division between self and other when others are holding different views than ourselves. When others are holding different views, or just when others are acting in ways that we don't approve of or that we feel are harmful or hurtful to ourselves or others. And remembering at this time it cannot be otherwise. And that human beings only act out when they're in pain. When they're in pain and don't have the tools or the resources to actually be with that painful experience. Without those tools or resources in that moment, the only option left for the being is to act it out, get it away, trying to find relief from the suffering that's happening. And of course, this includes ourselves. And this can be one of the greatest places where this understanding bears fruit, is knowing that ourselves in any given moment, what we think, say, and do in that moment could not have been otherwise. What would that do in terms of how we feel towards ourselves and the kind of inner dialogue that happens around ourselves? How might that understanding affect that? So this is really quite far-reaching, and maybe lots more could be said on it, and maybe we'll revisit it again. But for today, just in terms of working perhaps some tool to help lessen the divisiveness that is in our country and in our culture right now, cultivating the understanding that things cannot be otherwise. I wish you well with that today, and in general, I wish you well today, and I also wish you the resources and the skills, the compassion, the equanimity to meet whatever life brings to you with you. Okay, bye-bye for now, and we'll see you next time. Take care.